how did these chemicals like methylmercury or PCBs get on the map? How do we even figure out this is a problem? Anyone know where this famous time-life photo, where that's taken from on the left here of the mother holding her daughter? Hiroshima. Not Hiroshima, but the same country. It's Minamata Bay. This was a really tragic story. Minamata had, this was shortly after World War II, and that's actually important. I'll tell you why in a minute. Minamata Bay was a bay of a very high fish-consuming population that had a company called the Chisos Company that was discharging straight elemental mercury into the bay. This is before we had any clue about what happens to elemental mercury in aquatic environments, particularly more anaerobic aquatic environments. And that is, the mercury goes from that elemental mercury that we can all swallow without a problem to a methylated form, a methyl group, carbon and 3 hydrogens, added to it, and then now it becomes very bioavailable and very toxic compared to the elemental mercury. And so this was occurring well before we even knew that was possible in this bay in Japan, and people, actually cats first, interesting enough, years before people started to, have very, very bad neurological outcomes and syndromes. And I will say, because people ask, is it possible to have Minamata here? These fish are at about 20 parts per million of methylmercury in their tissue. When you get a fish that's over a part per million in Oregon, it's pretty, and we do have those fish, but these fish were off the charts compared to what we see here. And you had a lot of bad health outcomes. Actually, even more tragic was the picture on the right of this purple grain. What this was, if you can believe it or not, we used to use methylmercury as a fungicide, as a seed treatment fungicide on grain. And in 1971, when Iraq was having a famine, we shipped a bunch of fungicide seed that was meant to be planted to them. And you can imagine that the labels on these bags were probably in English, right? And the population that was starving probably couldn't read English. And they proceeded to eat the grain instead of plant it. And it resulted in 400 and some deaths, 6,500 hospitalizations, and really emphasized the fact that methylmercury is a bad actor. And we all understand that. I mean, it's a prime example in toxicology of something that you really want to be wary of. And so that's how mercury got on the map.